You guys asked for a Mel Gibson episode, so here I am giving it to you, raw style. But for real though, my dildo, if you do enjoy the content and you like the channel, please subscribe. It's a great way to support for free. And stick around to the very end. I'm going to cover some comments of a previous video. Let's get off into this.
This stuff.
They ask him about the social contract in Hollywood, and Gibson explains,
You can't get mad. You can't let it get you. Because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be f***ed over at some point.
Like I'm telling you guys, you got to give up your first unborn, the placenta of your first child, your mother, you got to give something up big if you want to be big in Hollywood, man.
By people who you may have done something nice for.
He also tells a surreal story about meeting Christopher Walken on a New York rooftop, which he's obviously dramatizing, but if you don't take it at face value, it does tell you something about the almost otherworldly nature of Hollywood from the outsider's perspective.
No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. He floated in, sideways, through a crowd of people. He was wearing black. And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. And he was a dancer, you know, so he has you know, graceful.
Yeah.
And my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold.
This was when Gibson was in the spotlight 24/7, and he was
We got vampire daywalkers? What is this? Underworld Rise of the Dykens?
letting on about some of the industry's practices.
I don't know why I said that.
He was trying to articulate something that had remained unspoken. His reputation was very much a lovable rogue or a loose cannon, so nobody really...
And dude, I don't know much about this whole Mel Gibson thing. I saw what I saw in the news, so we're going to be learning a lot of this together.
...paid attention at the time. He was also making everyone way too rich for them to bother with what he was saying in magazine interviews. But maybe he could see it more clearly because he wasn't made in Hollywood the way most people at his level were. He wasn't some Nepo Hollywood adjacent. His family moved from New York to Australia when he was just 12 after his dad won a workplace injury settlement. He had no connections and no industry parents carefully managing his rise. He studied acting because his sister filled out the application without telling him. Then Mad Max turned him into a global star before he even learned how the system truly functioned. Mad Max came in clutch, and it happened in the most Mel Gibson way ever. He'd been in a bar fight the day before the interview he didn't even want to go to, and his face was all bruised and swollen. He looked like the perfect post-apocalyptic tough guy, and not long after, he got the job. Mad Max absolutely smashed the box office, and he became a star. Relocating to Hollywood was just the next logical step. So the peculiar thing here is that by the time he showed up in LA for the film Lethal Weapon, he was already famous. That matters because he didn't owe anyone. He didn't have to spend years figuring out which executives to flatter or when to shut up and smile. Most people who make it to Gibson's level learned early that you treat the industry like a religion. You never forget that access requires submission. Gibson missed that entire education. But he did have some very real personal problems that began to unravel. His drinking is getting worse, his marriage is falling apart, his behavior is bordering on too eccentric.
Yeah, that drinking will get you, buddy. Got my dad too. You gotta put that bottle down, you'll get lost in the neck of it. I got lost in the neck of a lot of... Okay, let me stop.
Posing a risk for those around him. He also began making a name for himself as a homophobe and anti-Semite after a series of drunk conversations. And then he decides he's going to make a movie that's basically designed to detonate every relationship he has in Hollywood. I'm of course talking about The Passion of the Christ.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. When I watched this, I watched it when I was like 14, traumatized. Completely traumatized.
In 2002, he was planning a film about Jesus getting tortured, initially planning to shoot it entirely in Aramaic and Latin, dead languages that nobody can really understand. He didn't even want subtitles for it. So he starts taking meetings, Fox, Universal, Warner Bros, Disney, every major studio, 7 in total, and none are interested whatsoever. Part of it is about the commercial concern, but there's something else making studios nervous before he's even shot a single frame. The Anti-Defamation League, an American charity targeting anti-Semites, gets hold of an early script and immediately starts raising the alarm. The national director of the Anti-Defamation League said, quote, "By all appearances, Mr. Gibson has moved ahead with his plans to base his film based on the traditional passion play narrative that blames Jews for the killing of
Passion play? That sounds like a really kinky, like weird thing.
For those who will see
like a weird fetish kink.
Film, the poisonous accusation that the Jews were responsible for the killing of Jesus will be unambiguous and clear. Gibson's already got baggage here. His father was a Holocaust denier, and when pressured he said that my dad taught me my faith and I believe what he taught me. The man never lied to me in his life. So the criticism starts building. New York Times critic Frank Rich questions whether the film could fuel anti-Semitism. Gibson's response? He tells the New Yorker, "I want to kill him. I want his intestines on a stick. I want to kill his dog." So this man is
Not his dog.
losing control, and every studio is watching it build into a PR nightmare. The funding dries up rapidly after that, and he practically becomes a laughingstock. He's putting his entire reputation in Hollywood on this movie. South Park then catches the zeitgeist with The Passion of the Jew.
Passion of the Jew.
Stan and Kenny see the film, hate it, call it a snuff film, and track down Gibson for a refund. Their version of Gibson is completely unhinged, a masochistic lunatic running around shooting guns and literally defecating on people. Gibson's response at the time was defiance. He self-finances the entire production, remortgaging property, coming up with $45 million out of his own pocket. If this bombs, he's then personally destroyed. So the film opens on Ash Wednesday 2004. Critics are split. There are massive protests outside theaters, but also massive lines of people wanting to see it. It then goes on to gross $83 million in its opening weekend, and goes on to make $612
Wow, I did not know that.
million worldwide, the highest grossing R-rated film at the time. Gibson then personally walks away with somewhere between $400 and $475 million. So from the industry's perspective, he is now
banking on yourself, dude. Look at that.
made one of the most profitable films in history, even after every major studio rejected it entirely on his own terms. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Gibson talked about how turbulent this was.
That was a crazy movie because it was a great movie, but it seemed like there was resistance to that movie.
Oh yeah, no, there was,
which I thought was very strange. There was like Hollywood resistance to that movie. Like people didn't like that you were making it. It seemed like.
Yeah, there was a lot of opposition to it, and I don't know. I think if you ever hit on that subject matter, you're gonna get people going, because
of course,
it's big subject matter.
He even said how Hollywood was stunned by him walking around the system and scoring a massive hit without going through the usual channels.
And there was this kind of thing in the town. They said, "Did anyone just see that? Anyone just see what that guy did? Can't let that guy do that again." You know, because it sort of walked around the entire system.
It was a well-received podcast because Gibson, for all his woes, came across as more down-to-earth than your average massive star. Comments observed that he was holding back on topics that people wouldn't be prepared to hear about. The passion ultimately took its toll on Gibson, and 2 years later, everything fell apart. In 2006, he got pulled over drunk in Malibu, and during the rest, he goes on this anti-Semitic rant with the deputy.
You gotta watch your mouth, Mel. Making the anti-Semitic march drunk, bro. You gotta put the bottle down, man.
Which leaked. Gibson then apologized and admits he's an alcoholic, calling his behavior despicable. He pleaded no contest to misdemeanor DUI, received 3 years
that face right there is a face of a drunkard, unfortunately.
probation, and immediately pushed out carefully worded apologies through his publicist.
The court says the 53-year-old Gibson successfully completed terms of his 3-year probation. Gibson was arrested for driving drunk in Malibu in July of 2006, and during the arrest, the actor-director made derogatory comments about Jews and women, tried to escape, and repeatedly threatened the arresting deputy.
While also admitting to being an alcoholic for decades.
Crazy, dude.
Because you're dealing with a sort of a malady of the soul, an obsession of the mind, and a physical allergy. And some people need a big tap on the shoulder. In my case, public humiliation on a global scale seems to be what was required.
But it was all just damage limitation.
Honestly, that probably saved him, no, bro. You know, it's like Robert Downey Jr. He went to prison, right? Sometimes you need a kick in the butt to get humbled.
And the industry's response is instant and total. To everyone who criticized his views, this DUI and his unsavory rant that accompanied it was just the smoking gun. Apocalypto, a film he directed and one of his best, was already—
Saw that movie too. Thought it was wet. Thought it was good. Braveheart, wet. What is that one? What is this one down here? Mark Wahlberg. I don't even know what that one is. Passion, A Man Without a Face, never saw it.
In post-production, and its release was pushed back to avoid negative press. But after that, the upper echelons of Hollywood were closing ranks. Soon after, Ari Emanuel, one of the most powerful agents in the industry, publishes an open letter calling for everyone to boycott Gibson. Quote, "Hollywood should not do business with Mel Gibson until he demonstrates a real understanding of the harm he has caused. Being drunk doesn't make you say things you don't believe. It makes you say things you already believe."
If this is like Rosie O'Donnell saying, or who was it that made some racist jokes or racist comments while they were on Xanax, and Xanax came out and was like, "Hey, racism is not one of our side effects." Who was that? Was that Rosie O'Donnell? Who was that, bro?
Industry looks the other way, it sends a message that success excuses hate. And then things got worse. In July of 2010, Mel Gibson then found himself at the center of another major scandal when audio recordings surfaced from a phone call with his then partner. In the recordings, Gibson makes an explicitly racist remark suggesting that if she was assaulted, it would be somehow her fault. In the same conversation, he's also heard threatening to burn down her house while she was inside of it. And apparently there were actually some 35 minutes of deranged phone calls that leaked to the press in total.
I don't work around in tight clothes. I stay at home for most of the time.
Public, and it's an embarrassment to me. You look like a bitch on heat, and if you get by a pack of it'll be your fault. All right? Because you provoked it.
A reporter to the people that take fucking money from the wetbacks, okay?
You get a pat in the side of the head. All right? I'm not fat. I'm threatening. I'll put you in a rose garden. You understand that? Because I'm capable of it. You understand?
The fact that she recorded all
Bruh, Mel, what is he on? You need to put the bottle down. What is I ain't never known none of that. Bro, he coming out of left field with that.
All of this says a lot, and as the situation escalated, he was legally barred from coming near her or their daughter under a domestic violence-related restraining order. Those 6 years of major scandals shattered Mel Gibson's career. Nobody would touch him. From 2006 to 2016, Mel Gibson appeared in one film called The Edge of Darkness, a film where he plays a man who discovers that powerful institutions are conspiring to cover up crimes, and he's the lone truth seeker willing to die to expose them. Whether intentional or not, it was a perfect mirror into how Gibson saw himself. Around that time, accusations of game playing surrounding Gibson's exile from Hollywood began to surface too. When Ari Emanuel published a letter demanding that Gibson would be expelled from Hollywood, he was represented by Ed Lamato at ICM. So Emanuel was taking this principled stand while actually kneecapping a rival's agency's biggest star. In 2009, Lamato moves to William Morris, bringing Gibson with him and the agency's merge. Suddenly, Gibson is now Emanuel's client through that same veteran agent. So does Emanuel drop him on principle? No. He keeps him quietly on the books and nobody says anything about the contradiction until he was booted from the books again following the episode between him and his wife. While Gibson was slinking around the fringes of Hollywood, in 2007, Robert Downey Jr. stood up for him, and this was when things began to turn around.
I humbly ask that you join me unless you are completely without sin, in which case you picked the wrong industry. In forgiving my friend his trespasses, offering him the same clean slate you have me, and allowing him to continue his great and ongoing contribution to our collective art without shame.
Jodie Foster and Whoopi Goldberg also publicly defended him. Whoopi said that he spent many days with her kids and that he categorically wasn't racist.
But I know Mel, and I know he's not a racist. Oh, really? Yeah, I do. But I can't sit and say that he's a racist, having spent time with him in my house with my kids. I can't say it.
He was going through intense therapy at the time and seemed very keen to rehabilitate himself and his public image. But Robert Downey Jr.'s point hits on an extremely important point about the industry, bringing us right back to Gibson's own comments from 1998, involving the producer who wanted women either naked or dead. This is now why
he's the one that said that? Women on film? I mean, a lot of times it does make for a good movie, though.
Expected to refer to Harvey Weinstein 20 years before this became public. While the wheels are coming off Gibson's career, Weinstein is operating openly. Allegations followed him for years. People like Tarantino surrounded him. There were whispers at parties, jokes about it at award shows, and shockingly acknowledged behind closed doors, and yet nothing happened. Courtney Love makes a joke about him in 2005.
Do you have any advice for a young girl moving to Hollywood?
I'll get lively with us. Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party and 4 seasons stuff.
And this joke effectively blacklisted her from Hollywood. Weinstein kept working until 2017 until 80 women came forward. Rose McGowan helped expose his decades of abuse and was virtually blacklisted by Hollywood in the aftermath. But he's just one of many. Roman Polanski pleaded guilty to unlawful sex with a 13-year-old in 1977, when he then fled the country. At the 2003 Oscars, 26 years later, he wins Best Director and gets a standing ovation.
Goes for Roman Polanski.
That's the crazy thing about Hollywood, dude. You just give it enough time, they just think everybody forgets.
Woody Allen faces allegations from his adopted daughter. Court documents later show nearly 100 meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, but he's never left the big time and still regularly makes blockbusters. Filmmaker Bryan Singer faced multiple allegations and settled lawsuits, yet he kept on getting hired. Bohemian Rhapsody won 4 Oscars not long ago. The list is pretty much endless, and if anything, it gets worse the deeper you look. Victor Salva was...
Well, that's why they don't want to release the Epstein files, because everybody's in it.
convicted in 1988 for sexually abusing a 12-year-old. He served only 15 months. And then Hollywood kept on hiring him to direct children's movies. They kept separating art from artists when it's convenient. Dan Schneider, all these guys, which sends a very
Dan
clear...
Schneider, he is a sick individual.
Economic message. Employing problematic people is fine as long as they continue to serve the right ends. This isn't a game of whataboutery. Hollywood is a system where morals are relative. It's not about the severity of what you did, it's about how politically expensive it becomes to ignore it. Gibson's anti-Semitism and abuse, especially in an industry full of Jewish people, is unforgivable to many, and Robert Downey Jr.'s plea for mercy doesn't really erase that. But Hollywood didn't exile him because those things are morally worse than drugging and assaulting people, or fleeing the country after pleading guilty to raping a child. They exiled him because his scandals were loud, public, and impossible to spin. The industry is selective about who becomes the boogeyman, and that selection has nothing to do with who actually did the worst things. Gibson's redemption arc continued in 2016 when he released Hacksaw Ridge, a World War II film about a conscientious objector who saved 75 men without firing a weapon. It went on to receive 6 Oscar nominations. It was independently financed with no major studios involved, but this time, instead of punishing him, they welcomed him back. Gibson appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He called his past a rough patch, and he said that moment shouldn't define the rest of my life. The crowd cheered, others said it wasn't enough. Slowly the roles came back, like Get the Gringo, Fat Man, Bloodfather, and Daddy's Home 2, and Gibson's appearances were generally viewed positively even if they weren't anything like the massive titles he once starred in. Then, 2023, Gibson's name gets attached to The Sound of Freedom, a film about child trafficking, starred by the...
That's that one that Jim Caviezel was in, yeah?
Quotes started spreading about Gibson's conspiratorial view, claiming he exposed elites drinking children's blood, Andrew Combe harvesting, and satanic rituals, QAnon-type stories. Every single quote attributed to Gibson is fake. They trace only to yournewswire.com, a notorious misinformation site. Maybe it's part of yet another smear campaign designed to muddy Gibson's rehabilitation and feed tabloid headlines to keep his reputation questionable. Or maybe it's a manifestation of him becoming a symbol onto which both sides of the culture will...
Right. This is so crazy to me, because when I was a kid, dude, I wanted to be an actor. I really did. I was like, man, I'd love to be an actor. I'd love to be on the big screen. I'd love to be in movies. This would be so cool. But then the more I see this stuff, I'm like, I don't know if this is what I should be doing with my time. This is weird, bro. There's some very sick individuals. I'm happy to the point where I was able to do this on my own. I didn't have to have like a label. I didn't have to have a studio put me on or anything like this. I just started making videos and I found the people that enjoy it. All right, let's go to some of the comments. Definitely do a Mel Gibson episode. You're very welcome. You should do a segment on the, I don't know who those guys are. You should drink it straight from the tap. Yo, when they talked about the facial treatment, it made me think of Rob Schneider's movie Animal and Badger Milk. She's living in England, not Ireland. My bad. Hello, non-indoctrinated thinkers. Look up how many kids are abducted every year in the United States and America. This is the first world. It's almost 1 million children a year. Wow. Trying to tell me in the United States, almost 1 million children a year being abducted? What is going on? That's crazy. Mel Gibson for sure. Her reaction to Anne Heche's accident told a lot. Oh my God, I want to be a partner in the poop facial business. Poop facial business. Mel Gibson's one of the greatest goats of all time. Definitely cover him. Gold, sir. Keep up the great content. Matt Rifen, 20 years. Loki brings me joy. You, Levi, not so much. Thank you. Now imagine how many children get taken to the depths of hell. This is crazy. I'm listening to the videos. I'm cooking dinner, and I kid you not, YouTube is throwing ads at me every 2 minutes or less. This has never happened. I don't know why. They just run them when they want to run them. I like Mel Gibson. He seems a great guy. Nobody's perfect. Well, dude, the substance abuse is what gets people. The substance abuse is what gets people. So you got to put the bottle down. You got to put the weed down. You got to put the pills down. Live a sober life, dude. This is coming from a guy who was a pothead all throughout college. I thought I'd smoke weed till the day I was in the ground. You gotta put the joint down, the blunt down, the bottle down. It's not gonna help you. You gotta put the cigarettes down. If you need something to feel normal, that's dependency and that's an addiction. Get your supplies ready. Love the content. As a forestry machine operator, I put this in the background while I work and I just laugh my butt off at them one-liners. Thank you. You're getting treatment of stem cells. You can get stem cells from baby foreskins because they're the stem cells. Good Lord. Feel like not enough people are talking about the files on the island. She looks like Dobby's older sister. Shots fired! Person of interest is now reality where everyone's being watched. We scare because we care. Power is given to those willing to lower themselves to pick it up. Imagine that. Ellen DeGenerate is an evil person Opera Bill Cosby, Tom Hanks, all of them. A great vid and a great chat with everyone. Mel Gibson starred in the 1997 movie Conspiracy Theory. The longer I live, the more I realize how much he was trying to warn us. Yes, do one about Mel. Okay, love your content. If the Anne Hesh video is still available, maybe you should try to analyze it on video. I'll try to do that one maybe on a future episode. Remember a few years ago in the Netherlands, this documentary would launch in cinemas and was planning or wanting to see it. All of a sudden, everything went silent about it. No advertisement anymore about the doc. Nothing mentioned in the cinemas anymore. After years of being a hypnotherapist and the in-depth understanding of all this manipulation, it is not as devious as most folk expect. Quite simply, really, the best mass method is the laughter method that the shows use. If it is a topic that could or should be pulled apart because of its shock factor, the laughter teaches the mind that it's not what they thought it was. It's timing and information, or intonation of tone. Is that what you were meaning to say? How many times do we have to say it? Holly Weird is sick. Having cameras in the bathroom is illegal. Good work, Levi. God got your back. Yes, do a Mel episode. Okay, well, I'm glad you guys wanted that. Mel Gibson, man. An individual that I haven't ever covered. I've seen some of the clips, but I've never sat down and actually, got down to it and really, really dug in. But man, yeah, there's one thing I've known, man, from coming from a background of addiction. My dad was an addict. His dad was an addict. My dad was an alcoholic for a bit, and then he was doing speed, and he was smoking weed, and he was a drug dealer. I remember growing up and my dad had curtains on all the windows. So you would walk in after school at 3:45 p.m. I'd get home pitch black inside my house unless you turned the light on. On the weekends, during the week when I was at home, people coming in and out of my house constantly. I was like, who's that? Don't worry about it. Who's that? Don't worry about it. Hey, Levi, what's going on? It's so weird. But that was my dad having people come in my home or come in our home to buy drugs. And my dad just spiraled after that, staying up for days on end. He was just a bad role model, a bad dad, but it was addiction. Which is why I'm not addicted to anything. The only thing I'm addicted to is probably work and coffee. I drink a lot of coffee, but I don't smoke cigarettes. I drink alcohol maybe once a week, and I have my little nice beer at the brewery downtown. Maybe smoke a cigar a couple times a month, but I'm not addicted to cigars. I don't smoke weed. I live a pretty clean lifestyle, and I think you should too. If you are dependent upon something that's not food or water or coffee, I'll give you coffee. That's a bad thing, dude. If you feel like you have to have cigarettes to be yourself, bad thing. Feel like you gotta have weed, bad thing. Feel like you gotta have alcohol, bad thing, dude. Drop the bottle. It's only gonna lead to bad things in your life. And I grew up in a household where my dad was an addict, so I'm like, bro, you gotta stop it. And maybe that's why Mel Gibson's in a much better spot now, is because he dropped the bottle. Just saying. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Let me know in the comments what else I should cover. Maybe Oprah, maybe somebody else, maybe Bill Cosby. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It's always good to have you guys out, man. Until next time. Peace.